What's up guys, welcome back to the London Karting, welcome back to the Audi R8. Join me on this first glorious day of UK weather. The sun is out, the sun is shining, and today we're going to talk about, can you afford an Audi R8? If you were looking to buy one of these cars, as I was over the last 10 years or longer that I've been driving, or since I very first saw it in that Iron Man movie, and I was like, I need to own one of those cars. It's always been a dream for me since then, and to be sat in it now, a day doesn't go past where I feel so lucky to be sat in this car. We're going to talk about my journey of getting into this car, how much an Audi R8 costs, the different levels of R8 you can get into, what this might cost monthly, and also the additional running costs on top of owning one of these cars, how much it will cost you throughout your ownership. Now I've owned it since November. I'm filming this now, it's the 2nd of March. We're going to talk about the cost. What is the true cost? How much does it cost in petrol? How much do the brakes cost? How much does the servicing cost? What is the upkeep and the maintenance of this car? And it may shock you, may come as a surprise, or it may not. So let's get started with this video and let's talk about the maintenance, the upkeep, and the running of the Audi R8. So obviously, let's talk about the first major cost of this car, which, to be fair, you're getting into what some people call a super sports car, or what some people call a supercar. I like to see it as a supercar. It's got a V8. Many supercars have a V8. Just because the brake horse is like 430 on these ones, I personally think that this is a supercar, and if you think I'm wrong, let me know in the comments below, and let me know what you think in the comments. Is it a supercar? Is it a sports car? If you think it's a supercar, let me know why. If you think it's a sports car, let me know why. So the first major hurdle of getting one of these cars is the cost of these cars. To get a decent V8 supercar, Audi R8, you're probably looking around £40,000. Towards a high level Audi R8, you're probably looking at a 50k for a V8, and then for a V10 you're probably looking at 50k plus, and then you go into the Gen 2s, which are more sort of around 60, 70k. So this is a Gen 1.5, it's the facelift V8, so it came out just before the V10, sort of around the same sort of era as the V10, 2014 the V10 came out, and this was still in production, and they did the facelift. Gotta love that sound, hopefully it's picking it up. So this one cost me £50,000. Obviously, to get finance on this car, because it's a 2014 plate, you either had to put down a big deposit or you just couldn't get finance on it. So I've put down a big deposit, and then you've got to work out the monthly. So obviously the monthly payments on this car, depending on how much deposit you're going to put down, are going to cost you between £600 to £800 a month, and that's for a 2014 V8 Audi R8. This one has 30,000 miles when I picked it up, low mileage. And then at the end of this, it's going to be mine. So that is the first cost you have to consider when buying one of these cars. How much is it going to cost you monthly? Are you going to be able to do the monthly upkeep of paying that monthly bill of £600 to £800 a month in finance? The second thing that I really had to consider was, could I afford the maintenance of this car? When I mean maintenance, I don't mean if something goes wrong, I mean the servicing of this car, because this is a V8 engine. You want to get it serviced, you want to ensure that you're keeping on top of it, you want to make sure that nothing is going to go wrong in your ownership, and those small things that go wrong initially, will you be able to fix them further down the line so they don't escalate into something bigger? So you want to get it serviced as often as need be. If that's 6 months or a year, You know, I want to do this as much as possible to keep on top of this car and to keep it healthy. You know, I don't want anything to go wrong with it. I don't want any major massive bills in my ownership. So to do the servicing, I looked at the previous bills when I picked the car up, because it came with a lot of paperwork, and I spent a lot of time sat in the sales office going over the numbers, ensuring that I could afford the the 6 monthly or yearly servicing costs to ensure that I could do the upkeep of this car. And the 6 month cost is around £600 to £700 service for this car, and then the major one, you're probably looking around £1,000 to service this car, the major service. Now, the next major thing that I needed to take into consideration was the tyres on this car. It's the 4-wheel drive. You know, the tyres is what keep this car grounded to the road. It is a fast car. You know, in terms of supercars now, this is only 430 brake. The facelift was 430, the pre-facelift was 420. This, in today's figures, aren't huge. I know that, you know, but it is still a very, very fast car. Coming from the A45, I don't feel a massive difference, but the way it delivers the power, it is completely different. And then you just have that V8 sound, which is just crazy. So, the tyres. Now, you can't just change one tyre. If one tyre goes wrong, you're going to end up with a problem with the four-wheel drive system. So you need to take into consideration, can I afford to change 2 tyres? Or even better, can I afford to change all 4 tyres? Now, the back tyres are more expensive than the front tyres because they're wider. The back tyres, I believe, are about £350 each, and the front tyres about £250. All in, you're looking at around 1,200. Around that £1,000 mark, 1,200 for some Pirellis, maybe a bit more some Michelins, but you need to make sure that you can afford to pay that when you need to. You need to ensure that you have that money set aside any time to ensure if you get a puncture in one of your tyres, you can afford to at least replace 2 of them, if not the full set if they need doing. Now, the next thing that I needed to consider when buying this car is, if anything went wrong, what is the cost of fixing this car? Now, when this car came out, it was a £100,000 car, and as the price has depreciated over the years, you know, a decent one, as I mentioned earlier, can sit comfortably around that 40k mark, 50k, maybe more, depending on how it's been upkept, if it's in good condition. You know, don't get me wrong, I've seen them for sale around £20,000, but it is an absolute dog. If you're going to spend money on an Audi R8 and you're looking to get one cheap, you are going to end up spending that money getting it fixed, or something is definitely going to be wrong with it. So you need to spend the money up front on a decent one if you don't want to spend that money later on in bills getting it fixed. And it's not the same, you know, if you go and buy one and you spend your time getting it fixed after you've already bought it, you lose that experience. You know, I could have gone out and bought a 20k one. I saw one for sale for 23k. I could have gone out and bought that, but I thought, if I'm buying my dream car, do I want an experience where I'm going to buy it and end up in bills? Or do I want an experience where I'm going to get in this car and enjoy it for what it is, and have that experience that I always wanted as a kid, you know, seeing them. And I'll share some pictures of me when I was growing up. You know, there's pictures of me stood next to these cars, just dreaming that one day I'll own this car. And, you know, to be sat here having this achievement and reach my goal of ownership makes you realise that if you want to do something, you can do it. So, as I was saying, that's it, just put it in front of me. I didn't want that experience tainted by buying one that, you know, as soon as I bought it, it broke down, or I ended up in big repair bills. So I went and bought a good condition one I knew I had to spend that extra money up front buying a better one with low miles, with 30,000 miles on it, one that's been serviced at Audi every year. But I knew ultimately that what I'm going to end up with is a car that I would get in and love. And that is exactly what I've done. And it's been an absolute pleasure to drive. You know, I bought it in November, we're now in March, so what's that, nearly five months I've owned this car. And every time I get into it, I just fall in love again. You know, it is an absolute pleasure to drive. That sound there now, which wasn't there a few weeks ago. If you watched my previous video, go and watch it. I'm getting this exhaust system installed by Night Racer. Is absolutely changed this car. I'm going to open the window now on the way back and give it a little blast down this carriageway so you can hear it in this video, because it is an absolute dream, this sound. You know, I love it to bits. So, and that's going to bring me nicely onto the next costs of modifying this car. And to give you an example, if you want to buy an exhaust for this car, if you're looking at your VXR like I owned, you know, a VXR exhaust isn't that expensive, an A45 exhaust isn't that expensive, but an Audi R8 exhaust, you're probably looking around 4 to 8 grand for an exhaust system. And the reason why is this noise. That is why, hopefully, it picked up, even though I hit the rev limiter. I hit the rev limiter there. But I love it. I love this car. It is, I know I keep saying it, because I want you guys, if you're on the fence about buying one of these, to go out and buy one, drop down a gear and fly in a minute, because I've got an Audi A3 sat on my bumper. We will give it another little blast in a minute. Right, so we're going to go around this corner, put it into auto, and then we're going to go. What a dream it is to drive. So, as I mentioned, the exhaust, you're probably looking at about 4 to 8 grand. And that's just for the exhaust. You know, the other bits, to be fair, there's not a lot you can do to these engines. These engines are pretty much at their level already with the V8. There's not much you can do. You might want to get a carbon clean on the engine if your mileage is a bit high. You know, I'm thinking about doing that very, very soon, just to get a bit more peace of mind. And it might release a bit more brake horsepower, probably not much, but you know, it's just peace of mind for me that I know the engine is clean and healthy, and I've got nothing to worry about. Then there's a cost of course, if you want the front splitter. The front splitter is probably about £300 on these cars. In fact, I know it is about £250 to £300 on what brand you go for. I think the Maxton one is £250. I've just taken mine off because it had a little scrape, but I am going to replace it because I think it just sits too high without it on. Alloys, I want to change the alloys. I'm thinking about getting it wrapped. I'm going to put some overlays now about I'll show you the different colours that I'm looking at getting this car wrapped. Again, if you think one of those really stand out and you think that will look class on the Audi R8, drop a little comment, let me know. And what do you think? What colour do you think I should get the R8 done? Do you think I should go red, green, blue maybe? Blue? I don't know. I'm just considering my options, you know. And I think that is it. That is it with the ownership. Oh, maybe one more thing actually. This is a naturally aspirated V8. They drink oil, okay? I've had to fill up oil in this car already. The more aggressive you drive it, the more oil it drinks. So it's flashed up on my dash a few times. It's normal. in these V8s, very, very normal. That is something else you have to consider. Can you afford to pay the petrol as well as the topping up the oil occasionally in these V8s? I think that is it. I think that is it for the ownership costs in the V8. I think that is what I took into consideration when buying this car, and mainly the upkeep. You know, I knew I could afford the monthly payments, but could I afford to fix it if something went wrong, and if something and when it came to servicing not too much different from the A45. You know, the A45 was around £600 for the minor, and again around £800 to £1,000 for the major, so didn't really affect me too much. Cost of the monthly figures, if I compare it to the A45 was costing me around £350 a month on finance initially before I paid it off, and then £350 initially before it was paid off. So it's costing me around £300 to £400 extra on top of that monthly. So you need to take into consideration, can you afford a monthly increase on what you're paying already if you're paying car finance already? So I'm going to leave the video there. I'm going to wrap it up. Give this video a like if it's helped you decide on if you can afford an Audi R8. Subscribe to the channel, because I've noticed 85% of you are actually not subscribed to the channel who watch the videos. So hit that subscribe button, leave a comment below on if you're thinking about buying one of these cars. Should I get it wrapped? What should I do in the future? I'm looking for recommendations. I've done the exhaust, as I said I was going to do that. Let's get this R8 looking the nicest R8 in the UK, the loudest R8 in the UK, and you know, let's make this the most well-known Audi R8 in the UK.